Hey there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and a new card making video. Today I'm going to be building a scene for my card with a stencil. This is a birthday card for Trinity Stamps. They just turned 7 years old, so this was part of an Instagram hop, and I am using this balloon stencil set. It's a 3-piece stencil set, and it goes with a coordinating die set that has nesting balloons in it, plus a few of the fun shaped balloons. So it's pretty cool. I love that it has this giant balloon that's like card sized. So here's the die set you can see there, nesting balloons and then 3 extra balloons. So very cool set. So these balloons are all sizes, so I decided I would use this to create a background for a birthday card. And because it's a stencil, like, let's have a little bit of fun with it and not just do one color per balloon. So we're going to do 2. I'm starting out with some Lucky Clover ink, and that will be the top portion of this balloon. I've taped my stencil in place, but then I also used some paper tape and masked off areas of the stencil that were open to my card, because this is going to be a background and I don't want to accidentally go over into one of those other like open areas and get color where I don't want it on my background. So I'm protecting that with that sticky paper tape. And then I am bringing in some Mermaid Lagoon for the other half of the balloon. Now when I'm doing this, I really want the colors to blend together in the middle. So I'm taking my time and going back and forth between the 2 colors until I get that blend that I want. And every time I start stenciling, I'm making sure to start off of my project paper, starting on that stencil or even the sticky paper, because I want a soft look. I don't want any of those harsh lines that you can get from a blending brush. Then on this stencil, there's also highlights for your balloons. So I'm going to bring in Lost Shadow. This is like a super expert tip I got from another designer on the Trinity Stamps team, Larissa Heskett. She likes to use Distress Oxide for shading her die cuts. So this has become like a new obsession to me. I've been using it to shade my die cuts, but also thought it would look great on every one of these balloons. I thought I would try it versus using white. So now you know my little secret, and you got to tell me what you think of using Lost Shadow, which is a super light gray, for highlights like this. Okay, for my next balloon, I'm going to start with the same color I finished with. That is the Mermaid Lagoon. Now you can see on my card, they're going to be diagonal from each other. So that color is starting at the top of the balloon, and now I'm adding in a second color, the Wilted Violet, I believe is the color I picked, and I'm having that be the bottom portion of this really fun balloon. I like this long wavy one, so cute. And then I'll go back and forth between the colors again to get that blend in the middle. I think it looks fabulous. And again with the Lost Shadow. Now the other thing about this stencil, there's like 2 options per balloon on how you want to shade it. Isn't that cool? And there's even a little thing you can do to shade the like part you blow the balloon up with. It's so groovy. I love it. Okay, so let's add some more balloons and continue to build up this scene. I love doing this stenciling. I don't have to worry about masking things off because balloons are somewhat transparent and you will see through them. So when I'm doing this heart balloon and it's going to overlap the other 2 balloons slightly, I don't have to worry about that. It looks like it would really look. So I am super excited about it. I brought back Wilted Violet. It's going to be at the bottom, and I decided to use Worn Lipstick for the top half of this balloon. But here's the truth. I did not like how the Worn Lipstick looked. So I brought in Kitsch Flamingo, which has to be one of my favorite colors, and I did that over the top. Now I'm getting a blend of the 2 colors, so the Kitsch Flamingo is like a little bit you know, darker than it would be because I blended the 2, but I like the end result much better. So there's my heart-shaped balloon, and then you can see the shadow options here. Now I could do just one of these, or I could do all of them, or you know, a combination. So I just decided to go ahead and do all of it. I thought it looked kind of fun, and it really shows how like rounded this balloon is, and I like how it turned out. That's pretty cute. Okay, next we're going to fill in a little bit on the sides. So every balloon that I have just stenciled is on the same stencil. Now remember, this is a 3-pack of stencils. So there's 2 other stencils of balloons I haven't even tapped into yet. So I'm doing this 4th balloon and starting with the Kitsch Flamingo on the bottom. On the top, I'm going to bring in some mustard seed. Now these 2 are going to overlap and give me a little bit of orange. So I feel like now I'm getting all the colors of the rainbow without this being like an obvious rainbowy like background. It's just got a lot of fun, playful colors, and I love it. So there's balloon number 4. I'm really liking this balloon. I think I could do a whole background of those colors. I love it. All right, so we will add the Lost Shadow and make a highlight on this balloon. Do you see that right there? I didn't quite mask it good enough. What I'll end up doing with that little mark, I went over it with a sanding eraser, but it was still a little bit there. I'm just going to use the image that I add to this card to cover that up later. So no worries. Okay, let's start this time with the mustard seed at the bottom of the balloon. So it's going to be diagonally different from the mustard seed on the other side of the card. And this balloon is more rounded, more bubbly than the other balloons. And it's on one of the other stencils in this set. So I'm bringing in another stencil now. And for this one, I'm using that Lucky Clover at the top. So bringing back in that green one more time. So really, every color that I have used is represented twice in these balloons. I think that's cool. All right, so what do you think about me creating this background of balloons and none of them having any strings? I felt like adding the strings was going to be too much, too distracting, but I would love to know your thoughts about stringless balloons. I felt like they're just kind of filling up the room, maybe sitting at the top of the room and on each other, so they didn't really need the strings. Now check this out. This what I'm bringing in right here is another balloon set. Sold separately, it's a hot foil set, so you can hot foil your balloons, and I'm using Prism hot foil. So this is silver with an iridescent finish and those like flecks in it. It's so cool. I just felt like my balloon scene would not be complete without a few Mylar-like balloons. So that's the look I'm going for here. I have some scraps of really smooth white paper. Because the images that I'm using, these balloons are quite solid. They are solid. There's nothing quite about it. You really want to make sure you're giving yourself all the little opportunities you can to get solid coverage. And that means you've got to use some super smooth white paper. Spellbinders does sell a smooth paper that will work great for this. And then you want to make sure you roll through that die machine nice and slow. And that is really going to help transfer that image and you'll get a solid one every time. You also might need to think about adding a shim when you're doing something solid like this. Now, there are dies to cut out your hot foiled balloons. One thing I want to make sure you know is to be super careful with your lightweight tape there, your low tack tape. It can remove some of that hot foiling. So make sure to not cover up your hot foiling with the tape. Now, I wondered if the dies from the balloon die set that coordinates with that stencil, if these would work to die cut out the balloons, and they do with the tiniest bit of white border. So I decided to go ahead and leave my balloons like that. It just gives them a closer die cut look. All right, next I really wanted to use this Tardy Turtle set for my card. I thought it was really cute, but also I wanted to show you that Trinity Stamps has several of these little critter themed birthday cards. And as I was going through and showing you all of these, I thought the snail was really cute, and I actually ended up changing my mind and bringing in the snail because the presents on the turtle's back, they kind of overlap my heart balloon and it made me sad. So I decided to bring in the snail. I love that on his back, instead of a shell, it's a cake. I thought it was so cute. Plus, the other thing I loved about this set is there's a bunch of little confetti streamer-like pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and end up using those to continue building up that stenciled scene in my background. So I have not only stenciled and layered up my stenciling, but I am adding die cuts and I'm going to add stamped images. So let's get back to this stamped image, this cute little snail. I'm coloring this with Olo markers. Now, Olos are brand new to me. This is the first image I believe that I'm coloring on screen for you. I'm still really getting used to these. They are quite juicy, and I have been I've learned, I've researched, I've talked to people about them and how they can really shoot out or kind of spit out a little extra ink. I have not had that happen to me yet, except one time I pulled off a cap and got a tiny bit of splatter on my card, but I've not had it bleed out when I'm coloring. The other thing that I think is super important when you're using a new product is to maybe use the things that coordinate with it. Now, Olo has white cardstock that you can get to go with your markers, and I think that's a really good thing to use to help you get the best results and get a feel for them. And then maybe once you get a feel for it, you would also see how these work on other cardstocks. Or maybe you have a cardstock that you personally love and you could try that out. So I'll be sharing more with the Olo markers and coloring with them. I don't feel like I know enough yet to kind of teach anything having to do with them, but if you are using them and you have any tips, leave those for us in the comments below, because I always find that super helpful. But I'm enjoying them so far, just kind of getting used to the colors and how to combine them. You can see there at the top of my paper, I've played around with them and tested them out, and just really getting a look at the colors. I'm also adding some white highlights to my images before die cutting them out. I love that there was a little balloon here, and I thought we gotta, build up the scene, and we'll give the snail a little balloon too. Now, I was not loving my teal candles, so I brought in a silver glitter gel pen, and I'm going to color right over those candles. Now, I'm trying to color in the sections so that you can still see the lines on the candle, and a little bit of the teal does show through, and I was really happy with how those turned out, because I'm repeating the element of silver on my card a second time. So I've already got it with those Mylar balloons. Now I have it on my candles, and it also ties into that gray, the color that I decided to color up the snail in. All right, so here's those little streamer pieces. I'm using some blackout ink from Ink on 3 to stamp those randomly onto my card and have them somewhat overlap my balloon, and some are straight on top. But I needed to fill these in with some color. So what do you think? Should I bring back that silver glitter gel pen? Yeah, I think so. So that's how I'm going to color these. And it's really, I don't know, kind of a thing that makes me a little bit nervous, because you've already spent so much time creating this background. Like, what if this doesn't look good? What if I hate it? But I feel like if you have an idea, it's always fun to try it out. And you can always try it on a little scratch paper and like lay it on top, see how it makes you feel before you commit. But I think this is the thing that really makes this card and really helps this scene. And so I've just added another layer to it, and I love the results. You could also play around with other colors of gel pens and have multiple colors of streamers. But we recently had a birthday party here at my house. My kiddo threw it for a friend, and we had these like metallic streamers, and this kind of reminded me of that. So, all right, one more layer to my background. If you are a person who watches this channel a lot, you know I can barely make a card without splatter. So I have this splatter that I got a long time ago from Spellbinders. I'm not even sure they still carry it. It's called Sparkle Silk. I just splattered that on as another layer of like confetti and, party fun in the background. All right, so we've got my snail ready to go. I just attached the balloon to the back of the image right there off the cake, and then I want to create my sentiment. So this is also from that snail set, just happy birthday. I'm going to stamp it on black with some clear embossing ink, and I'm going to go ahead and emboss this with silver. It's going to tie into my card beautifully, and I think be a fun look for this card. So there's my silver embossing powder. I'm sprinkling right over the top, and then we'll use a heat tool to melt that powder. This is still magical to me after all these years watching embossing powder melt. It's so cool. This die I think is pretty cool because it's going to cut these words apart for me. So I really have the choice now if I want to put them horizontal on my card or stack them up, which I felt the best look for my card would be to stack them up. So they're going to go right here. They're going to be just tucked right in on that balloon with the confetti around them, and it's perfect. So there's my happy birthday. The snail is getting popped up. He's kind of the star of this show. I don't know. Are the balloons the star of the show? Maybe. Yeah, they're both cute. All right, so I'm adding this to a 5x7 card. I don't think that I had mentioned that before, that this card is large and in charge, and I love a big card. So this is Glossy Accents now. I thought we'd have a little fun with the snail. You know, he's slithering by and he's left a little trail as a snail would. And as he's slithering by with this cake on his back, probably some of the sprinkles have fallen off the cake. So we're going to play into that, and we're going to have some of these sprinkles stuck into that glaze, which, by the way, I can't even tell you how many times I touched the glaze with my fingers and had to go back and fill it in. It was at least three, maybe four. So frustrating. But just know it happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you, and we're not alone. We're in this together. All right, so there's that. And as I did this, I thought it really wasn't complete. So I added a few that looked like they were falling off the cake onto that little trail there. And yeah, we've got to embellish. So I brought in these silver holographic confetti pieces and just added a few to the card too for another texture on my card. I love having cards that have a lot of different texture. Here we've got, you know, that chalky feel with the Distress Oxides. We've got the gel pen, we've got the embossing, we've got the splatter, and now we have the confetti. And don't forget about those sprinkles. Isn't that fun? I just love playing and creating a card when it's for something really fun like this, like the Trinity Stamps birthday. So if you haven't visited the Trinity shop, make sure that you do that. And like I said, this card was part of a hop. The hop started a few days ago, but it's still going on Instagram, and they're giving away a $50 gift card to the Trinity Stamps shop. So you want to make sure and check that out before it ends. And you can find me on Instagram at Carrie Rhodes. I'll have it linked for you in the description box below. I'll be back again very soon with another video. Happy stamping. Bye.